Hi guys, in today's video review, we're doing the second adult novel in the High Republic publishing campaign. Let's find out if Rising Storm is worth all the anticipation and hype, or if it's just a storm of nonsense ideas. Where should I start reading? What is canon versus legends? When does the story begin? The answers to these questions is right here on Star Wars Timeline. Rising Storm is the second adult novel in a High Republic publishing campaign released on June 29th of 2021. It's written by Cavan with cover illustration by Joseph Meehan. Once again, I gotta shout out to the amazing work the Disney Books and Del Rey has done on this particular series, harkening back to the Art Deco with very classical and beautiful portrayal of the Jedi, and I just couldn't wait to start reading this book just based on the very tense moment portrayed on this illustration, and it's something that I really like to highlight on my channel and talk about the artists of Star Wars as well. As far as the story goes, this takes place a year after the first novel, The Light of the Jedi, 231 years before Battle of Yavin or before Episode 4. For those of you who are not familiar, this is canon timeline, and the High Republic is the new publishing campaign which launched earlier this year, and it covers adult novels, young reader novels, as well as comic books and children's storybooks. Now, please be warned, before you commence watching this video, full spoiler alert. I'm going to talk about characters, I will discuss the story and plotline and so forth, and also discuss my impression and talk about what I like and didn't dislike. So once again, you have been warned, this is a complete spoiler review. Let's get into it. Let's begin with the story synopsis. I have my notes in front of you so I could give you a quick gist of what happened in this book, and we keep talking about it. So as I mentioned before, this takes place a year after The Light of the Jedi, where we first saw the great disaster. And at Hatzal Prime, all the things that went wrong, and the ship came out of hyperspace bombarding that planet, and how the Jedi came to the rescue. And of course, the Jedi established the Starlight Beacon, which we'll also see in the High Republic comics, because the Republic and its leader, Lina Saw, they want to establish the Republic's presence in the Outer Rim and bring all those star systems and planets who feel sidelined into the Union and feel that they're just as important and under the protection of the High Republic. So Lina Saw, the counselor, she has what she calls great works, and Starlight Beacon was one of them. And now what she wants to have is the Great Fair on a planet called Valo, which also has a Jedi outpost. And what she wants to do is invite different senators of different planets and have a celebration of the great planets that are already members of the Republic and show that it's, how it's beneficial to be a part of that. We also meet Elzar Mann, a Jedi who we saw in the previous book, but now he has a very dark and foreboding vision of the Jedi dying and a great catastrophe happening, and it's something that sets him off on his own journey. When he arrives on Valo, he's also named a Jedi Master and the Marshal of that planet to oversee that everything goes right. And through the book, we see him travel to different planets, including to the moon of Tython called Ashla, where he tries to find the answers to this great and disastrous vision that he has. We also meet a new cast member, Ty Yorick, who is a Force-sensitive mercenary with a lightsaber, and we understand right from the beginning that she had some past with the Jedi Order. It was very cool to see how from the beginning of the story, she goes almost on this Witcher type of mission on a planet called Safrifa, where she's asked by the locals to dispatch a monster that snatches away different villages, who ends up being the Drangir creature. And as some of you have known and read the comic books, they are also part of this new threatening and dangerous galaxy next to the Nile. The Drangir are these sentient plant life who are able to send their spores and affect the Jedi, cancel out their abilities, and actually possess them like in an almost zombie-like state. We also see in the other part of this novel, Markian Ro, the leader of the Nile, who is now on this quest to a planet called Ristan with his cousin that we had no prior knowledge of some of his family aside from the mention of his father. Now we meet his cousin Kufa, and together what they're after is this ancient weapon, which they descend and they found at the bottom of this facility, which is called the Leveler. And right there, I just wanted to make this little connection to the Reverend Legends book, where there's a very, very similar scene where they go to a planet and they want to discover something. Um, and we also, Mark and Ro is taken to this planet, which is apparently very hard to find, by the bird-like sensitive navigator called Udidis, who is a Talortai. I believe it's a new species that we haven't seen before. Anyway, back on our planet where the main chunk of the story takes place, Valo. We have a great battle ensuing because when the fair finally opens and Lena So invites different members, and also we see the Togruta, who are not part of the Republic, their queen, Alaric Yovet, also comes to this fair to see what could possibly be there and can the Togruta peoples establish connection with the Republic and become equals and, you know, share all the benefits of the Republic. And as this fair is happening, obviously the Nile come in, they jump right into the atmosphere because they have the navigational control and understanding of the hyperspace travel that the Republic does not have the access to. They come in, and the great action scene, which I would say transpires perhaps at least 1/3 of the entire book. It's an epic action scene with parallel action going on and multiple scenes and multiple Jedi and then Nile are fighting each other off. Very epic action going on, both in the air and on the ground. And as we see, most of the book takes place there. You know, the planet is ravaged. You know, there's a lot of destruction going on. Lots and lots of people died, like very tragic events. I don't want to go into too much detail and tell you what happens or, you know, what specific Jedi or innocent member of this Republic passes away. That's not the point. And then we obviously see the Jedi overcome this challenge and they come victorious, but at a very great cost. And we see that the Nile are more than a decent challenge for the Jedi because they know how to combat Jedi skills. After that battle is over and the Jedi recovered, they go to a covert mission to a Nile base on Cyclor. And what they want to do is retrieve what they believe it was a lost technology by one of the inventors who was attending this fair. And the Jedi believe that if that technology falls into the Nile's hands, it's going to be disastrous for the Jedi as well as the Republic. But quickly, that covert operation to Cyclor turns also into the rescue mission because we also remember that at the end of the Light of the Jedi, one of its most illustrious Jedi, Lodon Greatstorm, the Green Twi'lek, is also being abducted by Markian Ro, the leader of the Nile. And of course, his student Bel Zadafar is one of the Jedi who goes there and tries to rescue him. And by the end of the book, we see Markian Ro finally using the two parts of the relic that he was on a quest to find in this book. He merges them together and he awakens this creature, this thing, which is still not very specified in this book, called the Leveler. And it does some unprecedented damage to the Jedi, which we'll go later on. But that's basically the nutshell of the book. It starts off with this great fair with something that the High Republic and Lena So, its leader, wants to celebrate. And then the Jedi come to attack, and the what's in between to save all the Republic is obviously the Jedi. So what is my impression to this book? What was my anticipation? What I wanted to get out of it? And what do we actually get here? Once again, I came into this book not anticipating much beyond a single point, a single fact that I wanted this book to have is more of Lodon Greatstorm, because he's somebody who won me over right away in the first novel, The Light of the Jedi. I loved him so much. I loved his interaction with Bel Zadafar. I loved how his dry humor, and that as powerful of a Jedi as he also has a sense of humor, and he's not as like lowbrow serious guy like Obi-Wan Kenobi was in the prequels. So what does this book have to offer? If you go into it with an open heart and mind, first of all, I'd like to mention its absolutely epic scope. It's very, very fun to watch multiple scenes transpire at the same time and how they're all woven together into one coherent story. Now, some of the criticism that I heard for The Light of the Jedi, and I think it also is perhaps valid here, is that some fans have a difficulty to follow so many different names and so many different scenes and characters and say, well, hold on a second, I'm getting confused here. I have to go back and reread. And to be honest, I did the same thing. But to me, it's not a detriment to the story. It's just a testament of Cavan Scott, the author, being such a great story weaver and have a very specific vision for this book and tying it all together that it doesn't work against the book, it works towards it. So, if somebody like yourself, perhaps, who doesn't read a lot of epic fantasy or doesn't read a lot of literature in general, and it may be confusing, just tell yourself this: look, at one point you will become used to it and say, like, okay, once you repeat reading a certain name of a Jedi 5 or 10 times, you absorb it, and by the time the next book comes out, you already feel familiar of these characters, and you kind of like take ownership of the High Republic and say, okay, I know what's happening here. I remember this Jedi from this book. Okay, and the Lena Soy is the leader. It all begins to come together. Also, this particular book, The Rising Storm, has a lot of nuanced plot lines which feel like a great adventure, almost something akin to Indiana Jones. They got to get the artifact, they got to go to this planet, and there's some mystery or lore behind there. Some of it felt like a quest, especially the Mark and Rose part, because to get to this planet, first and foremost, he needed somebody who is sensitive in the Force. And it's something that also mentioned for the Legends book, A Heart of the Jedi by Kenneth Flint, which I also reviewed on my channel. If you guys like, I'll pop a link here in the video, where it also felt very familiar and similar to the Indiana Jones franchise, where there's kind of like an interesting quest and even one scene which directly quotes or kind of like mirrors Indiana Jones franchise, which I thought was pretty cool. Also, the book has very great pacing. Rising Storm knows when to dial up the action and go absolutely crazy and just barrage you with crazy things happening, but it's not Michael Bay kind of action, because he knows when to create a tense moment. He knows when to, in the middle of a heat of combat, how to stop, pause for a second, and have our Jedi kind of like recuperate a little bit and gather themselves and, jump back into the action. So from that point, shout out to Cavan Scott. He's an absolute master of pacing. He knows exactly what to do in this book. He knows when to entirely move away from action and say, well, hold on, let's go somewhere here. We already talked about some of the more important and pivotal characters in the book. Let's now dedicate some time to the lesser known characters, which I'll bring up just in a minute. And he focuses on them and how they're also part of the story, and in how in some cases they are also heroes of this tale without being the Jedi, which, again, it's wonderful stuff when you have these lesser known characters or entirely new creations which take up the center stage and are interesting to follow. Let's get to some of the characters that we see now. The new Jedi take the spotlight. Some of them we saw in the previous book, Light of the Jedi. Some of them we saw in the comic. And some of them, I believe, are mentioned for the first time. But some of the strongest ones that we see here are Indira Strokes. We see Elzar Mann, which I really, really wanted to see more of. And finally, he becomes one of the protagonists of the story. And Porter Engle, which is total badass. And we saw just a tiny bit of him in Light of the Jedi. Here, his role is much expanded to my delight. And, he kicked all sorts of ass. There's also a very interesting supporting cast here. For example, there's this reporter, Real Dario, and her trusty reporter, kind of like video camera droid T9. I felt she was such a cool choice to tell this story through her eyes. It almost reminds you of Marvel Universe when, you see all this epic action and the Avengers doing their thing, but then kind of like the camera pans down a little bit and it homes in on just average people, average reporters trying to do their job in this crisis and contribute to, taking care of the situation. And that's what she was. She was so cool to follow, how she interacts with other Jedi, and they respect her based on her strength. She's not somebody who's going to pick up a gun and go in the heat of combat, but she contributes in a different way as a reporter, as a storyteller. Then there's this Ty Yorick, which is very intriguing, and I think there was a setup in this book to make her into this larger, grander character. She's this mercenary on a planet doing her Witcher thing. She's like after this creature, and it's fun to be introduced to a former Jedi, to somebody who had the past with the Order, who moved away from it, but still retains some of her knowledge of the Force. She still carries her lightsaber, because to me, it kind of reiterates the idea that the lightsaber, that a lot of fans had a problem with Luke Skywalker tossing it over his shoulder in The Last Jedi. But at the end of the day, it's a tool, it's a weapon, and somebody who doesn't affiliate with the Order anymore can still use it, especially that she has the Force powers. Again, this is wonderful stuff. Then we have the Rigasa, or the queen of the Togruta, Alaric Yovid. And what's interesting about her is that they built this mystery and how the Togruta peoples are still very, very unfamiliar to the Republic, and this elegant and regal queen comes on equals to the Republic Council leading us on. She said, well, let me see what's in there for my people. You know, should we join or not? And how she sticks around, and when the Nile arrive, she herself is there to help out. Once again, she's not a warrior, she's not a soldier. Yes, she has a trusty bodyguard who helps her out, but she's there pulling citizens from a rabble. And I felt she was such a strong and powerful female character in this book that I would love to see more of her, and how she will, you know, be a part of High Republic later on. Then we have Tia Toon, the Sullustan senator, who reminds me a lot of the Bothans in the New Jedi Order series of books, where they're highly political, and Bothans are there always boasting how they're, you know, they helped out to steal the plans to the Death Star, and that they're rightful, you know, members of the new Senate, and then they want leadership. And of course, one of them becomes a leader of the Republic at one point. And same here with Tina Toon. He begins as this almost opportunist who wants to push his program with weaponized, like an army and some kind of thing to build more adequate defenses for the Republic. But later on in the book, we realize that yes, he may have a different outlook on how to protect the Republic, but his heart is honestly in protecting the people. So he wasn't quite what I expected, and I really enjoyed it. So in closing, what did I think of this book in general? What score would I give it? 4 out of 4. It's another fantastic novel. I loved that it wasn't Charles Soule, but Cavan Scott, a different author with new, fresh ideas, jumping into it and being as excited about High Republic as the previous author, and giving it his own unique angle and vision. And it subverted my expectations in the most beautiful and heartbreaking ways. And here, this is the ultimate spoiler of this review. Please turn away if you don't want to find out what it is, but damn, I'm just getting goosebumps thinking about it. Loden Greatstorm dies. And dies in a way that's not there to just like get a rating for the book. Like, oh my God, plot twist. No, the entire book is sort of leading to that. He's preparing you emotionally. Like, look, he's not getting out of the situation unscathed. Something is going to happen with Loden Greatstorm. And I felt that Cavan Scott treated this already beloved character with much respect. He said, look, he's only a Jedi. He's not a super being. There's nothing that he could have done against this new secret weapon that Mark Yonro has. And it was such a tragic loss, and I didn't want it to happen. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's not about what I want. It's what the story needed. It's where it wanted to go. And I felt there was so much integrity and honesty in it that I said, okay, Cavan Scott, you sold me. I'm going to buy it. You know, it's unfortunate that Loden Greatstorm had to go, but me as a fan of good storytelling first, I had to accept it. I was like, it's so wonderful when you meet a character for the first time in a previous book that you fall in love with, and now you have to say goodbye. And this is what Star Wars is all about, and I can't stress how much of a powerful moment that was. And once again, shout out to Cavan Scott. I loved that this particular book reads a lot like the New Jedi Order, with this grand scope and a lot of parallel action going on. We see a lot of it in the Legends books, and Cavan Scott must be very well versed in Legends because he knows exactly how to tell his story. It almost felt like the peak of the Yuzong Wan War, and so many multiple actors on both fronts, from the Vong, from the Republic, from the Jedi, and all of it working in concert together in a very beautiful story. It was well paced. All the action didn't supersede the storytelling. The story was there, the emotion was there, the quiet moments were there to reinforce the great action. And you really, really care for the major cast and the supporting cast as well. So my only nitpick, once again, is something that we all struggle with, is picking up and learning and remembering all those names. But it's so minor, I wouldn't call it a nitpick. This book gets straight 4 out of 4 for me. I absolutely loved it. And I'm going to kind of like go home, so to say, and try to say goodbye to Loden Greatstorm, because just thinking about it gives me goosebumps, guys. Seriously, I love them so much. Again, my name is Benjamin. I do Star Wars comic book and book reviews, character highlights, lore videos. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel, hitting that bell button, and please let me know in the comments below what you personally thought of this book. I'd love to hear it. Take care, guys, and I'll see you later.